Hello, and a warm welcome to our weekly show, Love Athletics. In this program, we bring you the latest highlights from our sport with expert input from different continental areas. We're thrilled to have a very special guest today, former world-class sprinter and IAAF broadcasting director, Ernest Obeng. Ernest is also the producer of our show, but we were able to persuade him to come in front of the cameras this time.
Hi,
Hello,
Anna.
Ernest.
Hey, Anna, thanks. Thanks for putting me on the hot seat. And congratulations for all the wonderful things you're doing with this part of the sport, the love of athletics.
Indeed, something passion we both share. Now, Ernest, your career highlights include 200-meter gold medals at the African Championships, a silver at the World Cup, and a bronze at the Universiade. What are your fondest memories of your career as a sprinter?
Wow, that's a loaded question. For me, athletics was part of my life, so I enjoyed, I must say, every minute of it because I was living it. I enjoyed the ups and the downs. I enjoyed winning. I hated losing, but I learned from losing and came to find out that it was worthwhile. I enjoyed all the friends I made. And I enjoyed competing. It was just all around great enjoyment of athletics for me.
Now, it's interesting you mentioned that you hated losing, because my first memory of you was at the World Cup in Rome 1981, where I tried to get a flash quote from you just after the race, but you were upset and just breezed past. Yet you had just earned a silver medal and equaled your PB. Is never being quite content part of a sprinter's motivation? What keeps you pushing those limits?
Well, actually, I remember 1981 very well. And I actually do remember you asking me, trying to interview me then. Isn't it wonderful how great your career has developed since then? From a reporter to now one of the best known names in media for athletics. But as far as the race goes, it was a very interesting race for me because I was in a position where I thought at the end of the race I'd won. Sprinters, we deal with thousands and hundreds of seconds. And I was told that I was second to one of my nemesis. I shall not mention his name. And, so I was a little upset. I got over it. I scrutinized the finish photo and so on and got over it. But because we're dealing in hundreds and thousands of seconds sprinters all the time, it becomes very important to us to be sure that, the dreams or things we set up actually happen.
It's true. It was just 1/100th of a second between you and the gold medalist. So, yes, understandably, you were a bit upset. Now, you were living in the UK, but represented Ghana in international events until 1985. French statistician and Africa expert Yves Pinot often quoted you as an example of dedication during the seminars that we hosted for many years for African journalists, telling them how you would often pay your own ticket to attend continental championships.
Yes. Well, Eve, at that time, we didn't have all this internet and, online information. So Eve was the source of information. I was very close to him. I kept asking him who's done what and who are the people to look out for and to race against and so on. And by being close to him, I got a lot of information. So thanks, Eve. I remember very well. The point about sprinters being so discontent and so on is a moot one. I mean, I think in athletics, the way I see it is that everybody is different. Everybody is a star basically. It just has to shine. You just have to shine on your day. And we're all equal. Especially in sprinting, when you're in the set position, we're all equal still. Yes. And then the gun goes and everything changes.
At the finish line, everything changes for sure. Thank you, Ernest. Okay, let's take a look now at what's been happening over the last 2 weeks before we come back to our guest. And let's start with road races. The Houston Marathon and Half Marathon took place on Sunday, 16 January, in near freezing temperatures and saw excellent results among the women. In the half marathon, victory went to Kenya's Vikoti Chepngeno in 1 hour 05:03, the fastest ever in North America and 11th woman in history. And she cut her PB by exactly 3 minutes since last November. But most eyes at the finish line in Houston were on second-placed Sarah Hall, who at 38 broke the US and area record with 1 hour 07:15 on the same course where her husband Ryan, who is now her coach, set the still standing US men's record at the distance 15 years ago. The women's marathon was even more spectacular as 37-year-old Kira D'Amato clocked an excellent 2 hours 19:12 to slash 24 seconds off the US and area record, which had belonged to the great Dina Castor since 2006. Now, Sarah Hall had contemplated retirement in 2009, but stuck around, and in 2019, her career took off as she ran 2:22:16 in the Berlin Marathon. The following year, she placed second in London and improved her PB to 2 hours 20:32. Kira D'Amato's story is even more impressive, as she actually did quit the sport for 7 years, from age 24 to 31. She had been plagued by foot injuries and could not afford the corrective surgery, so decided to retire, starting a full-time job as a real estate agent. The better health insurance afforded by her job allowed her to undergo surgery in 2009, and she returned to running several years later after having 2 children. Her marathon debut in March 2017 was an unimpressive 3 hours and 14 minutes. Less than 5 years later, and still working full-time, Kira D'Amato has improved by almost 1 hour to set the US record and jump to number 22 on the world all-time list. Now, the men's race were no match at the performance or emotional levels. The half marathon went to Ethiopia's under-20 219 World Cross Country Championship, Milkesa Mengesha, in 1 hour 00:24, while Kenya's James Ngandu won the marathon in 2 hours 11:03. The Great Ethiopian Run 10K took place on 23 January, crowning winners Yalamzerf Yehwalo and Gemechu Dida, whom we see here with the race co-founder Haile Gebrselassie. The Ethiopian running legend first had the idea of starting the annual race with 2 neighbors in the year 2000. None existed at the time in the country, and he won the first edition in 2001. 17,600 athletes finished the mass race. World half bronze medalist Yalemzerf Yehwala improved her 19 cross record with 31:17, the fastest 10K recorded at altitude. And remember, Addis Ababa is at 2,350 meters above sea level. Girmawit Gebregsabir, the 2018 World Under 20 5,000 meter bronze medalist, was second in 31:29, and double World Under 20 medalist Meknat Wedu, still 17, completed the women's podium in 31:45. Gemechu Dida won a close men's race in 28:24, ahead of former Dubai Marathon champion Getane Molla, 28:25, and Boki Diriba, 28:26. The Osaka Women's Marathon was held on 30 January. It had only a domestic elite field due to the pandemic, but survived the slew of cancellations which affected many other road races in Japan. Mizuki Matsuda broke the race record, improving her PB to 2 hours 20:52, well under the qualifying standard for the World Championships this summer. Well behind her across the line were Mao Uesugi, 2 hours 22:29, and Natsumi Matsushida, 2 hours 23:05. And the top 6 finishers all broke the 2 hours 25 barrier. The World Cross Country Tour calendar has been reshuffled as 3 gold events were postponed to end February and end March. The silver Northern Ireland International Cross Country took place in Belfast on 22 January and saw a clear win by Kenya's Helen Obiri over Britain's Hannah Irwin and Mary McClellan. Britain's Zakaria Mohammed won the men's 10K, finishing 7 seconds ahead of Italy's Ilyas Awani. The World Cross Country Tour Gold events resumed on 30 January in San Vittorio Lona, Italy, for the Cinque Mulini, a very special cross-country event. The race is named after the 5 water mills athletes used to run through during the course. Now only one of the original 5 mills, the semi-functioning Mulino Meraviglia, is still part of the race and always makes for spectacular shots. The Cinque Mulini has been held every year since its creation in 1933, including throughout the Second World War. Winners there include the Gotha of long-distance running, with names such as Michel Jazy, Gaston Roulans, Kipchoge Keino, Frank Shorter, John Gugi, Paul Tergat, Kenenisa Bekele, and Salomon Barega, to name but a few. The women's race was included from 1971, and Norway's legendary Gete Weitz won it 6 times, while more recent winners include Faith Kipyegon and Letsenbet Gidey. In the 2022 edition, Ethiopia and Kenya shared the glory. Ethiopian Nibret Melak, in spite of falling during the race just 8 minutes before the finish, retained his title ahead of Kenya's Levi Kibet and compatriot Tadesse Vorku. Kenyan ladies trusted the first 2 spots, with Teresia Mutoni Gateri taking the win over Zena Mwejermuta Yego. The 2 had finished in the same order at the 3,000 meters in the World Under-20 Championships in Nairobi last summer. And Slovenia's Klara Lukan, a multi-medalist at continental level at age group events, completed the podium, becoming the first European to reach the top 3 in the women's race since 2015. Italy's Nadia Battocletti suffered breathing problems and had to retire. Meanwhile, the early indoor meets in the US have seen some spectacular results for young sprinters. On 15 January in Lubbock, 19-year-old Bahamian Terence Jones, who until then had been focusing mainly on 400 and sometimes 200, ran a world lead in the 60 meters with 6:45 after clocking 6:53 in the semis on his debut in the distance, equaling the US collegiate indoor record, though some claim the video shows he may have false started in the final. Next, it was 2 US high school superstars stealing the show. Again in Lubbock on 21st January, 16-year-old Nichols Harbour, a 96-centimeter tall and 103 kilos American football player, clocked 20:79 in the 200, the best ever for the under-18 indoor. The next day in Chicago, Will Summer clocked 1:15:58 in the 600, an under-20 all-time best. And he had already clocked the under-20 all-time best in the 500 meters a week earlier with 1:01:25. Another sprinter, 21-year-old Matthew Bowling, has also been shining in U.S. meets, clocking the fastest indoor 200 meters so far with 20:27, and also excelling in the long jump, where he holds the second best mark of the season with 8:25. Ernest, as the season gets underway, tell us, are there any sprinters who have particularly impressed you over the last 12 months?
Well, Anna, the past couple of seasons have been very difficult for athletes, with all this pandemic and travel restrictions and so on, and changes in the status of equipment, tracks and shoes and so on. So it's very encouraging to see how the athletes have stepped forward and are performing so well. As for the sprinters who I'm looking forward to seeing racing each other this year, 2022, I think it should be fair to say that I think the whole final of the women's 100 meters is something which I want to see repeat itself over and over again. That was fantastic from Elaine Thompson, Shelley Ann Fraser, to all those ladies on the list. And a big shout to Daryl Detia, who was there for the final as well.
Definitely.
And also mention, I think, Sharika Robinson, because she wasn't there, but look forward to seeing her this year.
Thank you, Ernest. Let's get back to current events. The World Athletics Indoor Tour kicked off on 22 January, and the first gold meet took place in Karlsruhe, Germany on Friday, 28. 20-year-old Ethiopian Berihu Aregawi, who broke the world 5K record in Barcelona last 31st December, kicked off 2022 in great fashion, clocking 7:26:20 in the 3,000 meters, the fifth fastest in history. Another athlete to start the year just as he finished it with a dominant performance was pole vaulter Mondo Duplantis. The Swede, who underwent eye surgery to improve his vision during the off-season, cleared all heights up to 6 meters 02 in the first attempt, and then unsuccessfully attacked the world indoor record at 6 meters 19. The US Casey Lightfoot had another great performance, placing second in 5:89, 2 weeks after jumping 5:91 in Reno. On the women's side, the most notable result came in the 1,500 meters, where the Ethiopian ladies made it a hat trick, all of them setting PBs. It was a very tight win for Aksumawit Mbawe in 4:02:12, with from Hirut Meshesha 4:02:14 and Frewenyi Hailu 4:02:66. Now, two stars from the Tokyo Olympics shone at the rarely contested distance, the 300 meters in Columbia, South Carolina on the 28th of January. Bahamian 400-meter champion Steve Gardner set the world indoor best with an outstanding 31:56. Just how good the mark is proven by the fact that only 7 athletes, including superstars Usain Bolt, Michael Johnson, and Wade van Niekerk, have ever run the faster in the 300 meters outdoors, and banked indoor tracks are notably slower than outdoor ones. The women's race was not as fast, but what makes it very interesting is the name of the winner, Puerto Rico's 100-meter hurdler Jasmine Camacho Quinn. She stepped up in distance to clock 36:52, improving the national record she had set 2 weeks before. And the following day, Camacho Quinn set another national record, this time at 200 meters with 22:68, and that mark is the fastest in the world so far. Milrose Games were staged in New York City a day after Karlsruhe on the 29th of January. The best results came from the middle distances. Australian runner Steve Oliver Hoare, who celebrated his 25th birthday by setting the Oceania record with 3:50:83, well ahead of Britain's Josh Kerr and Colby Alexander. New Zealand's Nick Willis placed 9th in 3:59:71, but it was still an extraordinary performance by the multi-medaled 38-year-old, who has run the mile under 4 minutes every single year over the last 20 years. Well done, Nick. World 60 and 100-meter champion Christian Coleman has come back from his 18-month suspension for missing 3 out of competition tests. In New York City, he won the 60 in 6:49 over Trayvon Bromell, 6:50, and veteran Ronnie Baker in 6:54. And in the women's race, third place Shanti Jackson, the 16-year-old daughter of Bershon, the 400-meter hurdles champion in 2005, raced to 7:18 for a world under-18 indoor best. But the best result on the women's side came also in middle distances and in the mile. US Elle Purrier St. Pierre clocked 4:19:30, ahead of compatriot Josette Norris and Germany's Constance Klosterhalfen. Also on 29 January in Sollentuna, Sweden, Denmark's European under-20 5,000-meter champion Joel Ibler Lilleso set a European under-20 indoor record at 3,000 with 7:48.34, smashing the previous best of 7:51.20, which had belonged to 1500 Olympic champion Jakob Ingebrigtsen. So outlooks looks very good for Denmark's Lilleso. Outdoor track events have been staged in the Southern Hemisphere, and Namibian sensation Christine Boma made her 100 meters debut on 15 January in 11:25, but it's not decided if she will continue to compete in the event. 6 days later, she clocked 22.3 in the 100 meters, in the 200. But it's time to get back to our guest. Ernest, we've been asking our guests what were their three favorite moments of 2021. So we want to know, which were yours?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I guess sports-wise at the Games, I think that, well, all the athletes were brilliant because in those conditions, and with the lack of crowd and so on, which might dampen a little bit of the attitude, but not all of it, they showed that they're competitors and they came out fiercely and ran and competed so well. But the ones who I have to say were superlative are the athletes who were able to set a world record during the Olympic Games. Because to do that, as Michael Johnson once told me, is something which takes a lot of patience, practice, dedication to be on form, right where it matters and when it matters, and win and set an Olympic record. Of course, Usain has done that. Bolt has done that several times, which takes him more to another level. Anyway, I'm ranting. To come back to the answer to your question, it will be Kirsten Warholm. It'll be Yulima Rojas, and it will also be Sydney McCollum in the 400 meter hurdles women. Those were my favorite moments at the Games. But my personal favorite one, which everybody's got their own stories and has their own personal. There's Warholm, yes. Yeah, what a warrior he is, huh? Imagine that, just coming and performing so well, in the heat of the moment and the moment in Tokyo. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, and Sydney's there as well. Wow. It must be a great feeling standing, on the track with that world record beside you, holding your flag, I wish many more athletes can enjoy moments like that. Look, wow. Unparalleled hurdling there. And then, of course, Ludmila, wow, came so close so many times and, setting that record. The previous one, of course, was also set at a world event in Gothenburg, the World Championships. Yeah, fantastic. Look at the look on her face. Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
But you were telling us about your personal favorite.
Yes, my personal favorite was it was a record. It was the national record set by the Ghana sprint relay team, And these are guys who, it's about time Ghana won a medal in the relay because there's so many talented athletes there. But Sean Safu Antwi, Benjamin Azamati, Emmanuel Yeboah, and Joseph Amoah put everything aside and came and performed really well, to set that record of 38.08. I think the Ghana system is picking up, In my days, it was quite difficult, but with Francis Dodu and those guys in charge, it's ramping up and they're beginning to believe in themselves. And who knows, the next championship, there'll be a gold medal in the relay for Ghana. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Now, a lesser-known aspect of sprinter and broadcaster Ernest Obeng is writing poetry. Tell us about that side of yourself.
Well, you see, I wrote from when I was young, and I always found that it was something which helped me to relax and relieve. I mean, and I focused on just sport poetry, which is a field which very few have embraced totally. And so I write about events, about my feelings, about people I meet, and so on. And I'm sure you're going to ask me to recite something for you. So I will.
Go ahead.
This one is called Passing By. I didn't have time to ask her name. She passed as I jogged in the lane. And parting her lips, she whispered, "Good luck," and it stuck at the back of my brain. I did have the time to answer, "Thanks, dear," but she passed far too quickly to hear. And all of that meeting, I thought of her face, and the race was the best of the year. So there you
go. Now, after you retired, you remained in the sport as IAAF Director of Broadcasting. What were your favorite moments of your second career?
Oh, okay. So it's old man telling stories now. I have to say that I was very fortunate to be able to work in the field of the sport which I enjoyed. That was a great opportunity for me. So I embraced it with gusto and so on, and tried to make a difference. There was one moment, I think, which would be the most outstanding moment for me, which is because we were in Cape Town in Stellenbosch, South Africa, for an event which is called the World Cross Country Championships. And we were sort of understaffed, undercrewed. So somebody I took the microphone to go and do TV interviews, because normally I'm behind the scenes, doing all the production stuff. And I was walking down, and there was Nelson Mandela. I'm not being used to doing this kind of work anyway. I summoned up all my courage, and I asked him a couple of questions. And well, you can imagine the rest. That was it for me. He was so kind and so gentle. He said he enjoyed boxing as a sport. He liked that very much. He also loved cross-country running, and that was a great moment for me. But in terms of on the other side of the events and so on, which were organized, there was one event which I really enjoyed, which was the World Relay Championships. There were several editions in the Bahamas, which was a place for it. And the World Relay Championships came about because I think it was Paul Hardy, who was our competition director at the time, had this idea that we should try and change what we do in athletics, try and do something different. So I think, Annie, you were involved, Emanuele was involved as well. And in fact, we had the backing of most of the IAAF, from the management to the council and so on, to produce a different event. And it was fantastic. The Bahamas was the place for it, the beautiful setting. The crowds, the stadium was full, no space available. The scene in that Thomas Robinson Stadium, and the sun sets, and it was picturesque. And then the athletes came out and performed, and they did magic, And then there was also the culture of the Bahamas. The Junkanoo band was there, playing music and encouraging the crowd. And it was really, really a wonderful event. And we had good hosts as well, the local organizing committee with Mike Sands, Keith Parker, and all their teams, working together with us to produce a wonderful event. I even had the four commentators for the races: Ovette, McIntosh, Walker, and I forgot the last guy. Matthews, I had them even, what do you call it, commentating in relay form, it was just so magical. So they pass on the microphone to each other after they'd finished. Wow. That's it.
That was a cool idea. The atmosphere was absolutely amazing. I mean, it was something. It gave you goosebumps. Just they were so enthusiastic, so into it. It was fabulous.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was great, and it was just. I mean, the relays. I mean, a team event like the relays is something which adds so much to the championships. Because usually they are individuals, okay, but now you've got to work as a team, and you can see how hard it is to throw an individual competitor into a team situation. But they tried so hard. Some of the images we captured on television as well, fantastic. And there was like a 15-second slow motion video of a relay baton exchange, between Anderson and Tamo in the women's 4x1 from the USA, which sort of outlined it all. Anderson came in a bit too tight, and so she had to ease back. And you can imagine the baton was sort of almost in the hand, and it went round the corners. And when she eased back enough, and she managed to get the baton into the hand of Tamo, and they went. And of course, they won that race eventually in the end as well. Which was another crowning glory for that. And people like Usain Bolt and so on who also, compete in the relay, they bring so much spectacles because you're just waiting to see what's going to happen in the last round. And anyway, that's that's my love for relays. Yeah.
But you did quote the hurdles and the triple jump among your favorite moments of 2021. So it's not all about sprinting. It's an all-round love of the sport.
That's true.
So we've looked at some great moments of athletics, and sadly, in the last 2 weeks, have seen the passing of several key figures from our sport.
Mm-hmm.
Coach and administrator John Belzian passed away on 20th January, aged 93. He had come to Kenya in 1955 as a physical education teacher and stayed after independence. John Belzian was passionate about our sport and had a deep understanding and commitment to Kenya. His impact on Kenyan athletics spanned grassroots and elite. One of his key contributions was setting up the national athletic standards for school children. But he also discovered and developed talents such as double Olympic champion Kipchoge Keino. He was Kenya's first national team coach until 1968, and then for many years, the director of the Regional Development Center in Nairobi. Another key figure in the development of African athletics was Frenchman Elvis Stefan, who passed away on 16 January, aged 84. Dr. Stefan first joined the French National Training Center in CEP in 1969 as a coach and doctor. After a successful career with French athletes, he was technical director of the High Performance Training Center in Dakar from 1996 until he retired in 2002, coaching many of the top sprinters from the continent. Senegal's Ambi Maketiam, whom he coached to 400-meter gold at the World Championships in 2001, posted a glowing tribute to her former coach on her Facebook page. 3 champions also left us in the last fortnight. John Rambo of the US passed away on 8 January, aged 78, after a heart attack. He was double NCAA champion in the high jump in 1964 and won Olympic bronze in Tokyo. He also excelled at basketball and was even drafted into the NBA. Rink Babaka of the US passed away on 15 January. He had set the world record in the discus throw in August 1960 before winning silver at the Olympic Games in September behind the legendary Al Erter. And finally, Benjamin Kogo of Kenya passed away on 20 January, aged 77. Kogo was the first Kenyan to contest the steeplechase in Tokyo 1964, starting off a glorious tradition that saw the country sweep 10 of the next 13 Olympic finals in the event. 4 years later, in Mexico City, Kogo reached silver behind his compatriot Amos Biwott. And finally, let's take a look at what's coming up in the next 2 weeks. South American Race Walking Championships will be held on 4 and 5 February in Lima, Peru. The next World Indoor Gold meeting, the New Balance Indoor Grand Prix, was moved from Boston to New York and will now take place on the 6th of February. The European Club Championships Cup in cross country will take place in Oeiras, Portugal on the same day. A week later, on the World Cross Country Tour, the Agnes Tirop Memorial will be held on 12th January in Eldoret. So we're now reaching the end of our show. It was great having Ernest Obeng with us.
Anna, thank you. It was wonderful to be on your show. I think it's making a great impression, for those of us who love athletics. This is something which really, 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 really makes it wonderful for us. And before I go, I just want to say to all the athletes out there, from the youth to the grown-up, as they say, from the young ones to the oldest and the veterans, good luck this year. Huh? Enjoy the sport and make it work for you and have a good time. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Ernest, and a great message. As we saw in the last 2 weeks, we had some fantastic performances by 16-year-olds and by 38-year-olds. So definitely a lot to come from athletes of all ages. Thank you, Ernest. Thank you all for watching, and see you in 2 weeks on Love Athletics to look together at the highlights, comments, and analysis of what's been happening in our sport over the last 2 weeks. Thank you. Take care and see you soon. Ciao. Thank you, Annie.